Back in the book segment tonight, what will Republicans in the House do to blunt President Obama's executive order on illegal immigration that we talked about in the Talking Points memo and the A and B blocks tonight? Joining us now is Congressman Trey Gowdy, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security, and he is in Washington. So, if the president does indeed sign the executive order when he comes back from Asia, which would legalize millions of undocumented folks, what specifically do you think will happen?
Well, there are three things, Bill. Number one, we need to persuade our fellow citizens that from 2008 to 2010, when he had the House, the Senate, and the White House, he didn't do a damn thing about immigration. So why can't he give the Republican House and Senate 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to do what he wasn't able to do in 2 years? So the first tool is persuasion.
I've made that point, too. There's no urgency to do this. He could give you guys a chance in January, and I would say 3 months, 4 months is fair. Number two.
Well, he's going to poison the well if he does that, and he just needs to understand up front, if he wants a solution, he'll wait. If he wants an issue for their candidate to run on in 2016, then he'll do what he's planning on doing. The second tool is the appropriations process, but frankly, that is a tool best wielded in the spring and not in December, where we're staring at an omnibus or comprehensive spending. But we have the Senate, and advice and consent. Well, specifically with this new Attorney General, ask U.S. Attorney Lynch, what are the limits of prosecutorial discretion? What laws does he actually have to enforce? Are election laws subject to his whim and caprice? Be very tough with advice and consent, be very thoughtful with the appropriations process, and all the while persuade our fellow citizens this is not a fight with the Republicans, it's a fight with the people who founded this republic. It's not the way to pass law. Yeah, but you're not going to get anywhere there, because the left-wing zealots and the immigration lobby are going to reject that, and they're going to look at President Obama as a hero and a humane person. You know that's going to happen. What's the third thing? Well, advice and consent would be the third. Appropriations and advice and consent.
What about what Napolitano raised, Judge Napolitano, that this is an impeachable situation because it does go against Congress making the laws, because the president is making a new law. And the new law says that if you have children who are American citizens, even though you yourself are an illegal, undocumented person, you can stay in this country. That supersedes the old law. Napolitano claims that's unconstitutional and impeachable. Do you see anybody going down that road in the House?
Have you met Joe Biden? Is my response to that. So, no, nobody is discussing impeachment except pundits and commentators. First of all, impeachment is a punishment. It's not a remedy. Second of all, the only people who want us to talk about impeachment are the president's allies.
All right, so you see it as a bait that you're not going to take.
I'm not going to take it because I've met Joe Biden. That's not the answer, is to replace Barack Obama with Joe Biden.
Explain the Joe Biden reference.
He would be the new president. I mean, so you get rid of one guy who's not...
He would be the new president. All right, okay. Now, I see this, and I don't know whether you watch the program tonight, but I'm not a partisan player. I don't root for you guys. I don't root against the Democrats. I want what's best for the country. I think this is so horrible for America. It's so awful. Because what we're trying to do here is get some consensus, have you work together, solve some economic problems, solve some foreign policy problems like Putin invading Ukraine now, and this is just going to blow everything to hell.
Yes, sir, it will. And frankly, in the interest of full disclosure, there are Democrats that we welcome the chance to work with. Luis Gutierrez, while I disagree with him on policy, is an eminently trustworthy participant. So is Zoe Lofgren from California. But the president is going to destroy whatever remnant of trust exists between Republicans in Congress and his administration if he does by fiat what he wouldn't do in 2 years when he could have done it. And doesn't he? I just watched 60 new members of the House that were elected last week. They deserve the chance to participate in this debate. That's the way the system works.
Yeah, he's going to say, though, just to be fair, he's going to say the reason he didn't do it in the first 2 years is because he wanted to give Congress a chance and they didn't get around to it, even though Democrats controlled Congress. And he had to do the economy because of all blah, 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 you know what it is. All right, Congressman.
Well, God forbid he do more than one thing at a time.
Keep us posted, and we appreciate your time very much tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to talk for just a moment as colleagues, not as Republicans or Democrats, not as members of the majority or the minority, colleagues who are blessed to serve in the United States House of Representatives, the People's House, with all the tradition, with all the history, with all the laws that have been passed, with all the lives that have been impacted. I want us to talk as colleagues, because our foundational document gave us, as the House, unique powers and responsibilities. We run every 2 years because they intended for us to be closest to the people. The President was given different duties and powers. The President was given the duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. So my question, Mr. Speaker, is what does that mean to you, that the laws be faithfully executed? We know the President can veto a bill for any reason or no reason. We know the President can refuse to defend the constitutionality of a statute, even one that he signs into law. We know the President can issue pardons for violations of the very laws that we pass. And we know that the President has prosecutorial discretion as evidenced and used through his U.S. attorneys. Mr. Speaker, that is a lot of power. What are we to do when that amount of power is not enough? What are we to do when this President or any President decides to selectively enforce a portion of a law and ignore other portions of that law? What do we do, Mr. Speaker, regardless of motivation, when a President nullifies our vote by failing to faithfully execute the law? How do we explain waivers and exemptions and delays in a bill passed by Congress and affirmed by the United States Supreme Court? How do we explain away a refusal to enforce mandatory minimums that were passed by Congress and affirmed by the Supreme Court? And why pursue, Mr. Speaker, immigration reform if presidents can turn off the very provisions that we pass? You know, in the oath that brand new citizens take, it contains 6 different references to the law. If it's good enough for us to ask brand new citizens to affirm their devotion to the law, is it too much to ask that the President do the same? If a president can change some laws, can he change all laws? Can he change election laws? Can he change discrimination laws? Are there any laws under your theory that he actually has to enforce? What is our recourse, Mr. Speaker? What is our remedy? Some would argue the framers gave us the power of the purse and the power of impeachment, but, Mr. Speaker, those are punishments. Those are not remedies. What is the remedy if we want the executive to enforce our work? This bill simply gives us standing when our votes are nullified. This bill allows us to petition the judicial branch for an order requiring the executive branch to faithfully execute the law. Mr. Speaker, we are not held in high public esteem right now. Maybe members of Congress would be respected more if we respected ourselves enough to require that when we pass something, it be treated as law. Maybe we would be more respected if we had a firmly rooted expectation that when we pass something as law, it be treated as law. Maybe we would be more respected if we put down party labels and to keep or retain or acquire gavels and picked up the history, the tradition, and the honor of this, the people's house. Mr. Speaker, the House of Representatives does not exist to pass suggestions. We do not exist to pass ideas. We make law. And while you are free to stand and clap when any president comes into this hallowed chamber and promises to do it with or without you, I will never stand and clap when any president, no matter whether he's your party or mine, promises to make us a constitutional anomaly and an afterthought. We make law.
Less than 100 prosecutions for giving firearms to people who are mentally defective. Less than 100 since he became president. That is an area where there is broad consensus. How about try enforcing the current background check law. We've asked the Attorney General and this administration for all the prosecutions, all the gun prosecutions for failing background checks since this president became president. Look, I don't need a lecture from him about gun violence. I watched it for 16 years. If you want to stop people from killing other people, deal with the mental health component, keep weapons out of the hands of people who have no business having them. The truth of the matter is this, Lou, you can't today sell a gun to someone who is a prohibited person, whether it's a private sale, a gun show, or a federally licensed firearms dealer. It's already against the law. Tell me how you're doing enforcing the tools we've given you, and then we'll consider giving you some more.
I guess as a citizen of this country, I get a little nervous when I hear this president talk about liars at the NRA, when the NRA represents those of us who are interested in preserving our rights under the Second Amendment, who are gun owners, who want to exercise our rights as gun owners, and a president who calls such people liars when he, in point of fact, has not taken one step to address the issues that led to the Sandy Hook tragedy. It is the ultimate, in my opinion, in dissembling. This president has misrepresented the legislative components of what was defeated in the Senate yesterday. I would much rather see him deal with, as you say, the mental health issues, because the last 6 tragedies that have occurred with a gun and mass murder in this country have been carried out by seriously mentally ill people. And neither the psychiatric profession in this country nor our politicians on the left who are calling for gun control have taken one step to deal with those two issues.
They don't want to talk about mental health. They don't want to talk about their own failure to enforce the current tools. And heavens knows they don't want to talk about Hollywood and this culture of violence that we are perpetuating in this country. My heart grieves as a father for what happened in Newtown. And I would give up all of my rights in the Bill of Rights to bring one of those children back. But to politicize this and talk about background checks and assault weapons bans when it would not have stopped any of the mass killings in this country, not one. You want to stop them, keep weapons out of the hands of people who are criminally, mentally ill. Do something about that.
I bid you welcome.